Elowen was a village wrapped in mist, always. The mist was like a soft gray blanket. It settled over the winding lanes and the little cottages. It made the world quiet and mysterious. Sunlight, when it came, was a gentle thing. It peeked through the fog, making everything seem dreamy. The air smelled of damp earth and old secrets. This was the home of Lira, a girl who lived her life in whispers, much like the village itself. She was a quiet soul, moving like a shadow through the misty paths, her thoughts her own. Lira lived all alone in a small cottage. Her days were filled with a special kind of magic. She was a lantern maker, you see, but these were no ordinary lanterns, oh no. Lira crafted them with utmost care. She gathered glowing moss from the deep, hidden parts of the whispering woods. This moss pulsed with a soft inner light, a secret from the forest. She also collected glass dew, tiny, perfect beads of water that hardened like crystal. These dewdrops caught the light in wonderful ways, making it dance and shimmer. Her hands, though small, were skilled in this delicate art. Each lantern Lira made was a little piece of a heart. It was quite a thing. She would take emotions from people, not in a bad way, mind you. She would find the feelings that were too big for a heart to hold. Sometimes it was a bright spark of joy, a feeling so happy it needed to shine. Other times it was a deep, quiet sorrow, a sadness that needed a gentle glow, and often it was hope, a tiny, flickering flame that promised better days. She carefully wove these feelings into the light of her lanterns. When her lanterns were ready, Lira would take them to the village market. It was a journey she made with a soft heart. The villagers of Elowen knew of Lira. They would see her, a slight figure with her basket of glowing lights. They would talk about her in hushed tones. There goes Lira, they might say, with her feeling lanterns. They admired her craft, yes, but they rarely spoke to her directly. Perhaps her quietness, or the magic of her lanterns, made them a little shy. So Lira would sit, and her lanterns would glow, sharing their silent stories. One day, the sky over Elowen turned a very dark gray. The usual soft mist thickened into a heavy cloak. Then, the rain began. It was not a gentle rain. Oh no. It was a proper downpour, a real lashing storm that sent everyone scurrying indoors. The wind howled like a hungry wolf through the narrow lanes. It was on this very day, this wild and wet day, that a traveler arrived in Elowen. His name was Kael. He was weary from his journey, his cloak soaked through, looking for some shelter from the unforgiving storm. Kael was not just any traveler passing through. He carried a purpose in his heart, a quest that had led him to this misty village. He was searching for something ancient and almost forgotten. He sought the ruins of Elowen's heart. Old tales whispered of this place. They said it was a sanctuary where love, true and deep, could last forever and ever. Kael believed in these tales. He hoped to find this magical place, perhaps to understand love, or maybe to find a piece of it he had lost along his way. It was a big hope, a very big hope indeed. Lira, in her little cottage, heard a knock on her door. It was soft at first, almost lost in the noise of the storm, but then it came again, a little stronger. When she opened it, there stood Kael, dripping and tired, but with a kind look in his eyes. Lira, who usually kept to herself, felt a little stirring in her quiet heart. She saw his weariness. She saw the hope that flickered faintly within him. Without many words, because Lira was not one for many words, she invited him inside. She offered him shelter from the relentless rain, and so Kael stayed. The storm outside continued for some days, keeping him within Lira's warm, glowing cottage. Slowly, a friendship began to bloom. It was a quiet sort of friendship, built on small things. They shared simple meals together. Lira would work on her lanterns, and Kael would watch, fascinated. He would tell her stories of his travels, of the wide world beyond Elowen's mist. She, in turn, shared the quiet rhythms of her life. They found comfort in each other's presence, a gentle understanding growing between them like a carefully tended plant. As Kael spent more time with Lira, he began to understand her lanterns more deeply. He saw how people in the village would sometimes approach her, their faces etched with unspoken feelings. Lira would listen, truly listen, and then offer a lantern. Kael realized that these were not just pretty lights. No, Lira's lanterns were like mirrors. They reflected the deepest truths of the person who held them. They showed the joy, the sorrow, the longing, the peace that resided in their hearts. It was a powerful magic, a gentle magic, that Lira held in her hands. One evening, as the rain had finally softened to a drizzle, Lira did something special. She had been working on a new lantern. This one seemed to glow with a particularly soft yet intense light. It was a light that pulled at your heart, making you think of things far away, of things you wished for. She held it out to Kael. "This is for you," she said, her voice barely a whisper. The lantern was filled with longing, a pure, aching longing. It was the feeling of searching, of yearning for something just out of reach. When Kael took the lantern, a jolt went through him. It was not an unpleasant feeling, but it was strong. The light of the lantern seemed to awaken something deep inside him, something he had almost forgotten. An old promise, a vow he had made long ago, perhaps to himself, or to someone he once knew. The longing in the lantern resonated with the longing in his own soul. It was a call to his quest, a reminder of why he had come to Elowen in the first place. The ruins of Elowen's heart suddenly felt more urgent, more real. The very next morning, Kael knew he had to leave. The lantern's light had firmed his resolve. He felt he was close to finding what he sought. He turned to Lira, his heart full. "I must go search for the ruins now," he told her. "Will you come with me, Lira?" He hoped she would. He had grown fond of her quiet company, but Lira shook her head gently. "My place is here, Kael," she said softly. She believed that love, the true kind, must be freely chosen. It could not be chased or forced. It had to find its own way. Kael went on his journey alone. The path to the ruins was not easy. He searched for a long, long time. The seasons changed. The mists of Elowen swirled and settled many times over. Lira continued her quiet life, making her lanterns, always keeping a small, hopeful light burning for Kael in her heart. Then one day, when the air was crisp and clear after a morning fog, Kael returned. He looked different. His eyes held a new wisdom, a quiet depth that hadn't been there before. He was changed by his journey. He came to Lira's cottage. He told her of his search, of the desolate beauty of the ruins he eventually found. He explained that the ruins were not a place where love was magically kept forever. No. He had learned a very important thing. Love was not something you simply found like a hidden treasure. Love, he now understood, was something you came back to. It was about returning, about choosing to be there, again and again. It was about the journey back as much as the journey out. This was the real treasure he had discovered. Lira listened, her heart understanding his words. She had known this truth in her own quiet way. She smiled, a rare and beautiful thing. She went to her workbench and picked up a lantern she had been keeping. This one glowed with a steady, calming light. It was a lantern of peace, of acceptance, of quiet contentment. She gave it to Kael. "This is for you now," she said. It was a welcome, an acknowledgement of his journey and his newfound understanding. It was a light for his settled heart. Then, Lira did something even more wonderful. She looked at Kael, her eyes shining with a gentle hope. "Perhaps," she said, her voice soft but clear, "we can begin a new journey now, together." Kael's heart felt full. He understood. The greatest adventure was not in finding a mythical place, but in building a life, a love, with someone you chose to return to. And so, with a lantern of peace lighting their way, they stepped out, ready to explore the path ahead, hand in hand, a testament that true love is often found not in the seeking, but in the quiet, steadfast return.